think the coolest aspect of the rental market compared to like the selling of these vehicles is that no matter how, like, when the economy is bad, the the buying market probably shrinks. There's going to be less people buying, but those people just move down market, where the people that are going to buy rent, and the people that are going to rent, they watch from the sidelines. But it's like in the middle, so that's pretty nice.
I see that in my business right now. I mean, the trailers, I mean, obviously the marinas and stuff are stuck with a lot of pontoons and towboats and stuff like that, but the power sport guys are just slammed with leftover non-current jet skis, BRPs shoving jet skis down their throat, bunch of high-end UTVs. So I see it on the Big River side where, we hit that peak during COVID. We thought it was going to go like that, but really it went like that, which everyone didn't see. And I see the market being so saturated that the rental market's going to be huge in the next couple of years. So
I totally agree with you. The V-shaped recovery just doesn't exist.
nope.
But that's a good point that you made. So we used to have 6 snowmobiles in our family. I was actually raised in a snowmobile family. My father is 11-time world championship snowmobile racer for Polaris Industries, full ride sponsor. And we sold all of our sleds 3 years ago, which was crazy to me, but it did happen. The only one in my family left with a snowmobile is my son, and he saved all his money working at Anthony's as a sous chef and a dishwasher, and then didn't even ride his sled one time last year. Anyways, to make a long story short, he does have his sled for sale, and the conversations that we had, because he's going to be moving down here to Florida, is a rental conversation. And it went like this: I know you want to go snowmobiling, but let's do it where we have some snow. So when you get the itch, let's fly out to Togami and we'll rent some mountain sleds and we'll get insurance on them and we'll return them in any condition we want to. And then we'll fly home and jump in the pool.
And he can do that 10 times over and still spend less money.
Absolutely. So he is very excited about that. So speaking of bringing up my old man and my snowmobile history, I just want to recap real quick. So, my father used to feed a family of 6, 6 children, and then a husband and a wife off the rental industry, snowmobile and boats. That's how I was raised. He's like the OG, right? He taught me everything. And to this day, he still teaches me everything. So with that being said, with Rec Systems and the software that we're building and how it's been defined, before Brad got a hold of it and made it a whole lot better, it's a field tested, true scenario of 2 to 3 generations of experience. And that's what we're working with right here. So with that being said, I want to give my dad a call right now.
All right.
I'm going to give him a shout. I don't know. I have no idea what he's doing. I tried to give him a heads up on the text message. He's 80 years old, but here comes the OG of the rental industry. I mean, the precedent in Minocqua. Anybody and everybody that is still doing rentals in Minocqua and Oneida County and Vilas County, I can guarantee you my dad did it first. So I'm going to give him a call.
What's his name?
Jerry.
Hello.
Hey, Dad.
Hey, good morning.
What are you doing?
On my way to breakfast.
You're on your way to breakfast?
Yeah.
Right.
And your son just texted me and said he got up early. Should we have breakfast? So he's coming too.
You guys are like 2 cowboys, just hanging out all the time.
Well, it's good company for both of us.
Yeah, well, that's good. Hey, listen, kind of a shot in the dark here, but we're doing our podcast introduction of Rec Systems over the past 3 episodes. And I was just telling everybody how you're, you know, the OG, right? You raised me in the rental business and you taught me the ways. Also mentioned, your world championships and your Polaris Industries run, your experience with snowmobiles and, boats and everything. And I just wanted to introduce you to everybody on this video, and I wanted to get your thoughts. I mean, how did it go? What do you think about this power sports rental stuff?
Well, if I would have had that tool 30 years ago, I would have been much better off. Everything was handwritten over the phone. My wife and I were in the restaurant business, and our second restaurant was Lakeside Restaurant Bar and Marina, which was right on the water on a chain of lakes. And I didn't know anything about boat rentals or storage or anything about it, but it just seemed like a fine addition to the business. And that's how we got into it. And some lumps along the way, but I thought if I could bring in an extra 50 grand between storage and rentals and repairs, that'd be good. Well, I think the second year we were over 100,000. But again, we outgrew it. I just had a small shop and a small storage building. Then a year or two later, I built a 12,000 square foot storage building. And I think the most I ever stored was like 120 boats. And I think, Rob, you stored, 500? But point being is, if I would have had that tool, we could have been much more efficient. And I don't completely understand the tool. Don't have the knowledge Rob does with computers and AI and all that, but I got a good basic idea. And I think it's a hell of a tool.
You talking about the booking software?
Yes, I am.
Thanks, Dad.
Well,
so what are you guys going to have for breakfast?
I don't know yet. But anyway, back to the software, it's a no-brainer. My wife worked with him down at Lakeside for several years, and she would come home and tell me about how it worked. And that's phase one. She sent fast, but where he's got it now is phenomenal. You'd be a fool not to jump on the boat wagon. That's about all I can tell you about it.
Well, thanks, Dad. I appreciate the support, and I love you very much.
Love you too.
All right. Have a great day with my son. Do not get in trouble.
We're always in trouble.
All right. Well, have a great day. Enjoy the sunshine. It looks beautiful up there. Thanks for picking up the phone, Dad. I love you.
Love you too. Bye-bye.
Bye. Yeah. So to recap, on the Rec Systems. So my stepmom of 33 years, who recently passed of cancer about 2 years ago, she would stand when we had the WordPress version, she would stand and sit next to me. And every day I would come in and we would be developing the process of how this rental would work in our own little inspection sheet, and how we would store customer data, and how we would store a security deposit, how we would have the credit card on file before it was where Rec System is today. And every day I would come into work at 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning, and I would have Jane, who was, My mom, I mean, she raised me, right? So she would be like, we need this and we need that. And I don't like where this button is up here because underneath this button is the delete button. What if I hit this delete button and then I accidentally hit the booking button and then Joe Schmo doesn't have a boat? And
Totally.
and it went on like that for years. And I would make adjustments, right? I would make the phone call and I would get it done to the point after about 4 years we had it so dialed in that my mom was extremely happy. She could do bookkeeping all day. She barely had to worry about the phone. And if somebody did call on the phone at that time, before we had Rec, the rental co-pilot, which could redirect or answer questions for you, she would simply say to them, can you please just go on our website? Everything is right there. And so she would retrain our customers. And we had thousands of customers. Lakeside, not all of you may know, is a tradition that runs in my family and has been around in my family, well, for almost 60 years. And I did sell the legacy. Sometimes I look back in hindsight and I think to myself, why did you do that? But at the same time, it was an opportunity and I had to take it. So I did what I had to do. But long story short, I'd like to give a shout out to my mom because she definitely had 100% involvement in building the first rec systems, which now has obviously been taken over by our in-house software architect, Brad, who is on here right now and made it extremely efficient. But this thing was built from the bottom up from a family that worked hard and didn't always have money and knew what poverty was, the kind of family that would go out in the middle of February and cut 3 cords of wood to heat their house. So that's where we're at today. And you just heard from my dad, who is probably one of my best supporters in life for sure. Doesn't really understand the technology that we're dealing with today at 80 years old, but he knows that it's a tool and it's a tool for growth and it's a tool for every company out there to take advantage of and take a little stress off their shoulders and put a little extra money in their pocket. And that's all I really have to say about it.
Yeah. So one thing I just wanted to echo all of that of is pretty fascinating. So Rob and I grew up in basically the same school district, totally different age ranges. Rob's my senior, but he's my elder. But for the most part, this area that we grew up in wasn't like it's we're in the woods, like there are people here. It's a huge vacation area, but like in the shoulder season and stuff like that, it's pretty dead. And so we had a very unique upbringing where we grew up, and I know Marco's a country boy as well. So where I'm going with this is just that it's pretty fascinating because there's a lot of folks that build software or build a company like this that they grew up in some suburb. No offense to suburbs, but like they grew up not really experiencing what the actual world was like, where boats are rented or where people like to go out in the woods and stuff like that. Like we grew up in the woods. Like I'm on 10 acres right now, and I've grew up running through through the woods. So it's really fascinating when you think about building software, that a lot of the software that's built is built by people that have never really experienced what they're building it for. And for us, like that's the beauty of it with Rob having such experience in the industry. But all of us are like boat people. I grew up on a lake. We always had a pontoon. Now I'd love to rent versus owning anything. But for the most part, like we truly live the experience versus just kind of seeing, oh, that's an interesting industry. Let's pursue that. So it's just a fascinating thing to think about.
I
Yeah.
can second that. I grew up same way. My parents they were born and raised up north on Lake Superior. We'd always go up there, whether it was hunting, fishing, UTVing, four-wheeling, just staying at the cabin. Now it's like I live down just north of Milwaukee. But we used to own all these UTVs, ATVs, snowmobiles, pontoons, wake boats. Hindsight, I live down here. Everything is, the inflation is crazy. I'm much younger than Rob and a little bit younger than Brad. So, I mean, based on the user experience of rec systems, being able to rent all this stuff with local rental companies wherever you want to go, I just see that that's a huge opportunity for the age group that I'm from, instead of owning everything. And with rec systems, I think it's just going to explode, the user experience, being able to rent anything they want in the power sports side of things.
For sure. Yeah, we're definitely entering this like era of access over ownership. To own something, it's great because you have instant access to it at any time. But how often are you actually doing it? Like the pontoon that's at my parents' house right now, it's sitting there. Like it's not on the boat, or it's not on the lake as far as I'm aware. I doubt my dad is out on the lake right now. So it's pretty fascinating, this world that we're entering, where more and more people are going to see the value of renting versus buying. And so I have a question for Rob here. So we have heard that you have a lifetime and many generations of the industry. Can you just take us back to when you first got into it, which is many years ago, not 2015, but many years ago? You want to just give us a quick recap of how you built that?
Sure. I was first introduced to the rental industry when I was probably 3 years old, honestly. And from that point, during, freezing cold winters and super busy summers, I would always be by my dad's side, giving him a hand where I could, whether it was running to get fuel or, trying to crank up a trailer at that age. And then I steadily grew into it. As far as my business is concerned, that was a 2000 and am I saying this right? That was a 2005 and a half deal, I believe.
Yeah.
I got it. So that was when I first purchased Lakeside from my dad. I purchased it for $960,000. He made a fortune off me. And then
That was so generous of him.
yeah, super nice. So that was when banks were lending to everybody, right? And I had a decent credit score, and being from Minocqua, they knew that I had a background in the industry. So River Valley Bank was, able to lend me that kind of money. And let me tell you something, that'll get you out of bed in the morning. So that happened, and then from there, we went through the obstacles, as I mentioned on the first episode, with 2007 and 2008. And that's what I was referring to when we had a huge pullback in the economy and gas prices were through the roof. And I'll never forget when I was sitting in one of my small brown buildings on Highway 51, US 51, that runs up 39 to 51, all the way up into the North Woods of Wisconsin. And I remember sitting there and I didn't see any traffic. And I was just like, oh boy. And I'm looking at Business Week and I'm reading Business Week and I'm seeing that some 40,000 businesses a month were going out of business at that time in 2007, 2008. And I remember calling my mom and I was like, oh, I might be in trouble. And she's like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, let me tell you, Mom, I'm sitting on Highway 51 right now, and I have counted 4 cars. And that was at the end of June. So usually when traffic is backed up from Minocqua to Wausau, Wisconsin, that was not happening. And so at that point, I had to make a move. So I immediately knew that Lakeside was a destination and I didn't need my highway frontage. So I sold that. I called my friend Adam Redman and I sold it for $180,000. Luckily, I got a cash buyer in 3 days and he still owns the property, which is great. So I did get rid of that. That wasn't the end of it, though. I had a beautiful house on 3 acres on Tranquility Trail in Hazelhurst, Wisconsin, and I just recently had twins and realized that we're going to have to sell that too. So I ended up selling the house in Hazelhurst, and the mother of my children and myself ended up moving into my father's basement. So we did that for a little over a year. And then I sold about another 7 acres that I had with Lakeside because I knew we were going to need the money. I couldn't pay my bills. So I had a $960,000 loan on the business and the property. And I had just bought a whole new fleet of boats. So that was an additional $330,000. So at that point, I was in my pants. So I wanted to make sure that we had enough liquidity to get through the hump. So I pitched about $500,000 worth of stuff and I put it in the bank. I didn't invest any of it. I just let it sit in a checking account. I put everything on auto pay and I said a lot of prayers and we made it through. So we carried the business, and after about 1.5 years, I was able to get my family out of my dad's basement, and we purchased a home in Timber Ridge and went from there. And then it was gangbusters. I had been through the ringer as far as stress is concerned. So like I mentioned before, I wasn't afraid to grow. I was like, oh, I owe the bank $1 million. Let's take out another $1 million. And we just went hard in the paint and grew the business and grew the business and grew the business and grew the business and grew the business. And that's how it went. And I sold it for millions. I just want everybody to hear it. This isn't some small deal. This was a multi-million-dollar transaction. I listed the business for sale. It took 22 days. So just so you know, Lakeside's, as soon as somebody got the whiff, we had a bidding war. I listed it for 2.9 million. I got 3.1. And that's hard work and perseverance. The only thing that didn't go with the sale of the company is right here, the online reservation system. I had to keep that because I knew that in the future that I wanted to follow my dream. I didn't want to be on a forklift anymore. I didn't want to be wrenching on boats. I didn't want to be changing oil. All that stuff is hard on your body. I always knew that I wanted to be a part of Brad's life and have a part of my life and my dream with the online reservation system. The timing wasn't right the first time we met. The vibe wasn't right either. And I walked away from it. And let me tell you something. Brad called me. I was at Paul DeYoung's house, all-star shortstop for the St. Louis Cardinals for 6 years, now plays for the Royals. I was in Jupiter, and we were golfing for a week. And he's a friend of mine. And I got in my Corvette, and I started driving back to Naples, Florida, and my phone rang, and it was Brad. And he calls me up, and I tested him, and he's so good at tests. He never fails. And he's like, we have this new AI capabilities coming out, and I think it brings on a lot of opportunities for us. And the first thing I said to him, I said, well, what kind of opportunities, Brad? And being me, like, what are the opportunities, Brad? And he explained it to me vaguely. And I said, okay, I'll give it some thought. And I think I drove about 15 more miles before I called him back. And that's where we are today. So the universe brought Brad and I together originally. The Milwaukee Boat Show in the universe brought Marco and the three of us together. That was a crazy trip, as Marco knows. I was hanging out with my friend Jamie Johnson, and that was gnarly. I feel like I was in Vegas. I mean, that is a story that Brad knows about too, I think. That definitely caused a ripple in my family. But boy, did I have fun. And what did we get out of it? Marco's right here. So this story and everything that we have in the team that we have for Rex Systems and how we're built, I want everybody out there to know that Brad probably lives on a UTV trail. Brad probably lives on a snowmobile trail. I did. It's called the bearskin. I mean, we live and we breathe this every day. I have a Mastercraft XT23 sitting in my lift right now. Marco sold the lift to me, basically. And I live in Florida, and that's in Wisconsin. We are the industry. We are not a big box company. We are in this thing every day. This is how we enjoy our lives. We have snowmobiles rip past our house and keep us up at night because they're running a can that we can't stand and we're trying to get to sleep. That's how close we are to this industry.
Yeah, I feel like I live like on a drag strip sometimes with these two strokes on the lake over here.
Yeah.
Hey, but yeah, that you I think I should give a little bit of context from when I called you. So what's amazing is Rob and I have been talking about this idea for many years now. And when we first started talking about it, it would have been very vanilla in terms of its implementation. It would have been what Rob had in his business, but it wouldn't have really been remarkable from a standpoint of I've got to have this software. But I started building AI based software back in 2016, and that was back in like IBM Watson, and it was just a completely different era. But the past few years has just been this like explosion of incredible innovations. And when I started to look at what are the best things that we can do with this software, it instantly became apparent that why don't we build this booking engine that has been in the back of my mind ever since I first talked to Rob. And so I started researching it a little bit, and there really isn't anything in the industry like what Rob had dreamt up, what I could build. And so when I called Rob, it was a shot in the dark because we hadn't talked for a while. But the amazing thing is that there is so many tailwinds for what we're building, because all of the technology and all of the ideas that Rob brings to the table and all of these different things are coalescing all at the same time in a way where there is so much capability for rental companies now, and it's so exciting where this industry will head. And going forward, I really feel like as Rob was talking about, like the recession, the thing that I see this as is no matter what happens with the economy, there's always going to be people that want to rent from here on out, no matter what phase of life or whatever. Not everybody wants to have this liability sitting in their driveway. Maybe they live in a suburb where they they can't just have the boat in the water all the time. And so having the ability to rent is going to be a bigger and bigger trend. And so anybody that's in the rental business is probably going to be doing fairly well in this upcoming decade. At the same time, the AI stuff that we're pioneering is really on the forefront of technology, where it's everything that we want to build is just to make people's lives better and happier. Uh, and in that process, hopefully it makes more money for the company. Hopefully it makes the employees have to not do as much redundant, annoying tasks, all that kind of stuff. But for the most part, like the coming together of the three of us, I feel like has become like a perfect storm of abilities to really create some innovative software. So I'm super excited about all this. And so yeah, I'm glad that you answered that call, Rob, because yeah, this is an amazing idea, an amazing opportunity for a lot of businesses that want to hop on the AI train with us.
Yeah. I mean, thanks for the call, right? It doesn't happen every day where you get the best software architect in the world that calls you from Monaco, Wisconsin. So,
yeah, that's I got to touch on that real quick, because like I think I just need to reiterate it in a way where Not tuning my horn too much, but I built my original software company out west, and that's where my wife, my business partner, wife, she worked at HP as an engineer, and we came together and built a pretty impressive software company out west, and has a ton of users, all that good stuff. We moved back here where I grew up to raise our family, and so now we have access to unlimited lakes, and so I'm not sitting in Silicon Valley building the software for this imaginary customer. I'm literally building the software, driving by rental places as I drop, my kid off to school. So I'm truly in the field building the software, and I'm not afraid to talk to any of the customers that uh, would be, you know, typically what engineers and software architects and stuff, they're deathly afraid of humans. No offense to them either, but they just want to code. And so the ability to understand what the market wants is pretty rare, because the people that are building the software typically don't talk to the people using the software. And there's usually this gap where there's some folks that interface with the user, and then there's the people that build the software for the user, and then they kind of talk behind the scenes. That's not us. Like, Rob, Marco, and I, like, all of us talk to whoever wants to. We care at rexsystems.com. Email us. Any of us will talk to you anytime. So it's much different.
I kind of want to touch base on Rob, based on testimonials and stuff like that. Rex Systems has two of the best testimonials in-house right here. I mean, Brad already built a very successful software. He's not just a little software engineer. I mean, Brad is big time. Rob, on the other hand, he used the software for how long, Rob? 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. Grew the business 803% before you sold it using this platform. I think that's the best testimony anyone can ask for.
Rob's been in the business for 20 or more years, but yeah.
Sitting in the back seat watching all this come together, and it's going to be something pretty special for small businesses to be able to grow into large businesses, and hopefully, have a successful exit plan.
Yeah. So let me put it to you this way. 12 boats in my rental fleet and 4 rollover lines. And then Rex Systems came along, and 36 boats, 5 trucks, and 112 delivery locations.
With how many employees?
16. I mean, but that's
pretty slim.
500 boats, yep. 4 mechanics doing service. So to this day, and I'm going to call this out, and I don't know if he's going to get a whiff of it or not, but Rob at Boat Sport is still using the old version. If you go on Boat Sport or Google Boat Sport Eagle River, still using the old version that I gave to him at no charge to go ahead and check it out. He is still running his business with the old version of Rex Systems. And he loves it so much that he won't go to the new one.
And anyone can use the new version at no charge, correct?
Yep, no charge. Everything's
depending on everyone that's watching this, us talk about this, depending on when it is, hopefully he's using the new version at some point. But it's pretty fascinating that it was built so well that there is no need to upgrade.
Yeah, the original version. And I'm not knocking the new version. I'm just saying he's stuck in his ways. He's a dear friend of mine. I've done so much business with him, and he loves to give me shit. But he doesn't want to make the switch. But he also doesn't understand what kind of phone calls coming in the next couple of weeks as soon as things settle down here. So we're going to try to get him on board.
That's great.
I appreciate you being part of our team, Marco. I want to give you guys a little heads up about Marco. Marco's been around for about 8 months. He hasn't received any compensation whatsoever. He has stuck by our side to make our product better and to gain confidence in potential customers. And his attitude has been solid. I'm talking solid. In today's day and age, if nothing is offered right up front, there's a lot of people that would probably abandon ship, and Marco has not done that. So I couldn't ask for a better team. So I just wanted to say publicly, I appreciate you, Marco, for sticking in there. I know it hasn't always been easy, and everybody is ready to get out there and get moving. But thanks for your patience.
You bet. Part of the team for the long run.
Nice. Yeah, there's so much exciting things to come. So that's I think with everything that we have in all the irons in the fire that we have, it's going to be an exciting ride the next few months of what we're doing. It's super motivating to get up and work on this every day, because at the end of the day, what we want, like what we truly want, is the success that Rob has seen, and for a lot of the stuff that I've done with other companies in the past, building software for them. When you start to integrate some of these systems, the amount of mental freedom that it provides you is just, you really got to experience it to really understand how amazing the feeling, the weight off the shoulder is of, not having to worry about certain things, and having things automated, and knowing that there's this 24/7 thing out there that is actively growing your business. It's a really amazing feeling. And I hope that throughout this whole process, Rob has explained it in a way that motivates you from his story. And I think that as you watch more and more of our videos, we're going to get a little bit deeper into the history of the tactics, all of the different aspects of building and maintaining, and possibly even selling a rental business for the power sport industry. So with that said, look forward to the next episode, and we will talk to you soon.
Wait till you see the back end.
Yeah.